to me, it's kind of where I get my nerd on a little bit. I've been doing this for 35 years, and um, makes perfect sense to me, and I love it. It's very important. If we don't get it right, the state of Florida, the state of Alabama, the state of Mississippi will get it right for you, and it's more expensive. So we're going to talk about that. I want everybody to relax. If you ask me a question, if it's something that we can handle and not hold the whole thing up and keep it on time, I'll be glad to take the questions. If we do, I may defer it and you catch me after, or write it down on your yellow sheet and I'll get you your answer. The one thing that you will get from this whole thing, I hope, is that you will get the answers that you want, and they will be at no cost. And people say, well, why? You can't make any money doing that. We make money in other places. Financial education is one of the worst things, the worst things that can happen to the public. I'm a finance major. I have a finance degree. I took one class, managerial finance, when I was 24 years old, that has anything to do with what we're going to talk about. The rest of it, I went to work for a company that's now known as AXA. They said, forget all that stuff you learned in school. Because they're right. It's a completely different language when we start talking about this. And they made it that way to make it intimidating, to make it where you needed their help. And we're going to try to shed some light to where it makes plain, ordinary English out of what we're doing. We find if we can do that, that it brings a lot of peace to you guys. You know, to us, when we talk about it, it's like if you're anybody in here is an electrician, it's like wiring a light switch. That's how it is to me when I talk about this. But I do realize that it's not worth anything to you to sit here forever how much of your life you've decided to give us and not understand what it is you come here to learn. So we are definitely going to do our best to be transparent. Okay, is that fair? All right, we'll get started. I'm kind of a stickler for not going over or under. I'm going to try to keep y'all on the right time. Again, I want to let you know up front, in addition to the 45 minutes, an hour that you're going to get today, you're going to get an additional 30 minutes to an hour for a personal consult. When we're done with that, you should have everything you need. If you choose to hire us to represent you in some way, shape, or form after that, good for you. We'd love to do it. If you choose not to, you will have your information and it will not cost you a dime. Is that fair enough? All right. So this is the planning team. We also have, I think you met two of our administrators out front. But with us today, we have Che Kyle. Che is my CEO, my right hand, a blessing. Allison, she handles all of our client management systems and just about anything else to do with something that needs to look pretty to help you understand what I'm saying. She's good at that. And then you have Debbie. Debbie actually runs the practice. She's real quiet, doesn't have a whole lot to say. She's powerhouse. Carl's in the back. He's a senior planner. You're no longer a junior. Congratulations. Anyway, it's kind of cool. Just to give you a little bit of background about how we operate about things. I'm going to give you a lot of good information, but the way Iron Plan operates, and Iron Plan is my baby. For the first 10 years, I worked for Wall Street. I told you guys I worked for AXA, and then I worked for a company called ING, which is now Voya. And I found out real quick that Wall Street don't know how to tell the truth. And they don't know how to tell it to me, and they don't know how to tell it to you. So I stopped them from lying to me, and I'm doing my best to stop them from lying to you, but that doesn't always happen. So what we are is we're an independent advisory firm. We report to the applicable state that we're in. Everything we do, we're actually more regulated than we've ever been. But it's fair, and we get to tell the truth instead of what everybody wants you to know. So as a team, most of the time, everything we touch, the three of us, we touch it. It may start on my desk, it may start on his, but and then we have an enormous amount of assets and strategic partners that helped us put this together. You know, I've held my hand up a year ago and said, hey guys, there's people dying every day that's got their assets titled wrong. We got to stop that. Well, the reason nobody had said that before is because there's not a whole lot of money in it, but it's absolutely necessary. So I went to the planning team at Nationwide. I said, guys, I need your help. So They got a payroll that's more money than I could dream of for that, and they helped us. And then we had some other partners help us. We had a tax attorney that stamped off on it and said, "Yeah, you can say that, not be an attorney," which I'm not an attorney, by the way. Um, and then we have a number of CPAs that, depending on what we need, how we go. Sometimes you're going to ask us questions, and we're going to look at you and go, "Ooh, I got to go find out that I don't know the answer to that." But it seems like it's always my team that's finding that answer. You know, the CPA will punt to me, the attorney will punt to me, and if I don't go find it, it'll lay there, and that's just not the way my team operates. So hopefully you guys will get what you come here to get, and you'll enjoy meeting the team and all that. We are all based out of, I'm based out of the South. I've worked from Houston to Jacksonville my whole career. I live in Pensacola. I went to the University of West Florida, so Che. And Carl is a Tennessee boy from the great state of Tennessee. So enough about us. Let's get started. I got a question before we start. And there's no wrong or right answer. I just want, hopefully I'll get 2 or 3 answers, and maybe you'll see what I'm getting at. Tell me what estate planning is to you. Anybody? What's it mean?
Leaving all your possessions to children, family.
Absolutely. That's pretty doggone good.
Yeah.
Anybody else? It's pretty good. She hit it out of the yard right there. So there's different classes of assets. There's different ways to plan for that, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Unfortunately, I got some bad news for you. None of us is getting out of here alive. So he's going to come, and the question is, when he comes, did we plan for it? Hopefully we did. And hopefully if you have questions about that, we're going to get the answers for that either today or in a future visit. Anybody know who this guy is? It's a tragic story. It's tragic. It was tragic enough that a great musician primarily killed himself accidentally, but he killed himself whether he likes it or not. And that's tragic because I loved his music. I saw him in the Superdome in New Orleans in Purple Rain. It's one of the best things I ever did. Awesome. Anybody want to take a stab at what he was worth when he clocked out? $178 million. Anybody want to take a stab at what they ended up with, his heirs, when they were done? No, they finally, it took, I think it was 6 years, 7 years. They got it straight. Let me tell you what happens. Anybody in here know what happens? So if you die in any given state, forgot to give her a gift. There you go. If you die in any given state, that state has a set of rules that if you didn't title all your stuff, they're going to title them for you. That's called probate. And it's expensive. Ask Prince, or his kids. Prince wasn't here. About $34 million in probate taxes, and then income taxes, and they ended up with just over $100 million. That's sad. Probably. Well, let me tell you why it's sad to me. We've kind of glanced at that as a planning team. I could have got that number down to they would have put in their pocket about 164. There's only so much beating you can do when it comes to the Internal Revenue Service, and there's only so much they'll let you do, and then they look at you and go, ah. So, but at the end of the day, what was Prince? 51, 52 when he died? It was. I mean, he never thought that he wasn't going home, but like the Reaper, you never know. And testy means you did not do any plans, and now they're going to do them for you. So when I think about financial planning, to me, legacy, wills, what you're talking about here today, that's the last part. There's other parts that's got to be done right to get to that part, really. You have to do some planning, some discipline, some saving. Hopefully you got the right place, the right investment, the right advisor, the right team. And if you do all that, we think of that like climbing the mountain. And if you're still working and you're climbing that mountain, we call that we helping you with accumulation, because we're trying to help you accumulate what you need to ride off into the sunset. In the process of doing that, as we get to the end of that accumulation phase and start to talk more seriously 5 to 10 years out about distribution, which is retirement, then we start to talk about the legacy, because there is one. So just so you know how we think, this guy here, he should be talking about what his income looks like right now. He's getting close, because when he gets to the other side of the mountain, it's going to get fun. Anybody in here climb mountains or rocks? Anybody? Once upon a time, maybe. I'm not climbing a rock right now. So if you study Mount Everest, and I didn't know this, I actually learned this recently. If you study Mount Everest, they have to go. It takes them, I don't know, so many days to get to the base camp, which is really where the climb starts. So that's no small walk. I think it's 13,000 feet or something like that. That's where it starts. Then they have to gradually go up the mountain, and they have all the air sickness and all blah blah. But that's not where most people get killed trying to climb Mount Everest. The majority of the deaths happen on the way down. And the reason is because they're elated, they're tired, they've been to the top, and they're careless. And the guides would tell them, hey, you guys got to really pay attention. You're not off this mountain yet, and it will kill you. That's how we think about, you talk to everybody in here, y'all talk to people, and they said, yeah, I got a 401k, I got this stock, I got this CD, I got this, I got that. Okay. All right. So tell me something. How is that asset titled if you don't come home tomorrow? Well, it's easy. If you have a spouse, it's primarily going to just default. But if you're the last one, it gets complicated. So, first of all, is it titled right? And then second of all, do we understand that we have a pile of money that we can't outlive that's guaranteed? And is it titled right? And then the money that I'm going to need to outpace inflation, is it titled right? And, well, what difference does it make? We're going to talk about that. But that fellow right there, better be careful, because he's in the bad part. Going up wasn't so bad. So we're going to talk about some things today. We're going to talk about estate planning. We're going to talk about life and legal. It's two-sided to estate planning. That's me. That's Jay. How many of y'all are here? How many is holding hands, retired, living a good life? How many? Awesome. She said she just retired. Any other new retirees in the building? Fantastic. Okay. So since you're the new one, there you go. By the way, hey, y'all don't get too excited. It's just a nice little gift. There's nothing. You can't retire on it. All right, this is my favorite part of the whole show. I am not a CPA. I am not an attorney. I am not a government employee. I do not work for Social Security, although I know a lot about it. I don't work for any government agency. I don't work for the Internal Revenue Service. And anything I say is not meant to be advice unless I tell you it is. It's meant to educate. That being said, everything I'm going to say is what you come here for. So that's just an attorney making some money. That's all it is to it. Come on in. Y'all better watch her. She's drinking Mountain Dew. She's ready. Oh, there we go. Okay. Any of these 4 categories, this is primarily the bulk of your estate plan. Does those words or those names, do they ring a bell with you? You've seen them before? Yeah. So I like to talk in layman's terms because it's more important that I'm understood than it is to be impressive. So how about this? When we talk about, first thing that happens, 9 times out of 10, someone walks into our office, they said, man, I got to have trust. Okay, maybe you do. Maybe you don't. So what do y'all think I ask them when they say that?
What all you got?
Why you need a trust? I mean, maybe we've got to rock. And believe me, you walk in an attorney's office and make the mistake of saying, hey, I need a trust. That's it. You're right. You do. And let me tell you what it costs. Right? And look, I ain't getting on everybody, but you're asking for it when you go in there and tell them that's what you want. Maybe you don't need it. We had a lady, we did a classroom similar to this at PJC not too long ago, and she come in and spent 20 minutes with us and said, "Oh, I need a ladybird deed." Woo, that's a lot cheaper than trust.
What?
A ladybird deed. We'll talk about that. Okay? But she really didn't need a trust. She was about to spend some money that she just didn't need to spend. So, ma'am, well, there's a number of different reasons to, and let's be straight. If you absolutely want a trust, you can have one. Just don't be the person that pays the money for the trust and don't fund it. Nobody and look, there's no rule book that says they got to tell you. The attorney will tell you once on the way out the door, "Hey man, you need to fund that trust. Otherwise, it's a empty document." When I think of a trust, I think of a big metal warehouse, and I'm going to store. If it's your trust, I'm going to store everything you have temporarily in that metal building. That's a trust. Then I'm going to get some directives, which is a will that's going to tell me who gets what, when, where, and how. Very, very important right here. The trustee is in charge of the disbursement of the trust. The executor is the executive of the will. They are bound by whatever state you're in to behave in a certain way. It's very loose. It really is. The sheriff's department's going to come out there and say, "Hey, you dispersed that asset wrong." You get caught stealing, you may end up in jail. But for the most part, if you're sitting here and you're thinking, okay, so what's the difference? Well, one place is going to store it. So let's just say you had a bunch of antique cars, and all of them went into the trust. And you said, "Well, while I'm at it, I'm going to put my house in it so I can avoid Medicaid look back," that seems to be what gets everybody popping. What I mean by that is if you and your spouse own a home, say $250,000 home, and one of you gets sick and have to go in a nursing home and you can't afford it, state of Alabama and Medicaid will have to pay for it. Well, the state of Alabama is not in the business of paying your long-term care bill. So when the last of the married couple is passed, they're not going to let the kids sell the house and keep the money. They're going to want their money back. If 5 years prior to you needing care, you put your house in a trust, there's no look back. You've satisfied it. A ladybird deed can do the same thing if your only problem is your house. For the most part, there are exceptions. They're just very rare. So, and for those of you who are lucky enough to have really good kids, well, what if I just put my kid on the deed? Done. That's cheap. Just understand, you could have for sale sign in front yard. So it's all about trust, and that's back to the executor and back to the trustee. Two conversations you absolutely got to have. You got to have a conversation with who it is that you have put that burden on, and make no doubt about it, it's a burden. I don't care how much you pay them, because they're not going to be a good guy ever. They are the gatekeeper. And then after you decide who they're going to be, I want you to go decide who you need to tell why they were not. Now, I know a lot of you think, "Oh, hell with it, I'm dead. I'm not getting in all that." Okay, well, let me tell you what happens then. She and I, we might as well wear a black and white shirt to the office because we are the referees. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, there's nothing worse. So, what is it? A pound of prevention is worth an ounce of cure. I think I got that right for the first time in 10 years. So what that does is just alleviate why Junior, his feelings maybe not as hurt because his older sister is running the show. And what Mama didn't really want to say was, "Son, you couldn't run that show if I left you directions." So just something to just take that advice. That's absolutely no charge free. That might be the best thing I'm going to say today. You can. Boy, that's a mess. You can. Now, let me ask you, especially if it's two girls. Are they like best friends? They do everything. Then you'll be all right. If they are not, or you say, well, they can, that right there. Who's number one? Who's number two? You got to pick. Or you're gonna have well, I can't say that, a different kind of show.
Yeah.
Okay. So all right. So we covered the wills and the trust. Everybody got a pretty good idea what's happening there. And if you've got some specific questions, come at me.
My question is, do you have to have both or either one?
Great question. The question was, do you have to have both or do you have to have one? That's up to you. And what would happen is, if you came to me and said, tell me what you would do. There's a whole bunch of questions we have to ask about your assets and where they are. And then we engage a legal team and we say, hey, what do you think here? And then we get really smart. Then we say, well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to let you engage the attorney after we've talked about that. And people say, well, why did you talk about it? Because while I was talking to him, I was telling him what he wasn't going to sell you. Because if you turn him loose, you're at his mercy. If you don't need it, you don't need it. Let me tell you what you do need, everybody in the room. Pretty good. You should have a trust. You may have a will. You better have a healthcare directive. That's more than I don't want to be here, pull the plug. Okay. Well, while you're getting to the pulling of the plug part, do you want water? Do you want pain medicine? Do you want to be fed? Do you want them to just call hospice, load you up with morphine, and clock you out of here? Unfortunately, everybody says, yeah, I swear every time I do this. Yeah, me too, by the way. I think I should have a right to dignity. Unfortunately, you got to get to a point before they can do that. So during that time, if they're giving you water and they're giving you food, they're prolonging it. Everybody's different. I promise you, I got a sister. She's kicking and screaming. She don't want you give me everything. I'm gonna be here until I can stay forever. I don't know. It's just the way she is. All right, and then the other one is durable power of attorney. Anybody know what a durable power of attorney is? Want to take a stab at it?
Someone who you leave in charge to take care of all your finances, pay your bills.
That's pretty good. So pretty much they become you. And you need to remember that because they are you. They can apply for credit cards in your name. They can make bank loans in your name. They can sell your real estate in your name. Let me tell you what happens if you don't have one and you're laying there in a hospital bed with a tube in your nose and you can't pay your bills. You got to go get a judge to let you into the bank to pay your bills. Do not go through life longer than one more week without a durable power of attorney. We can fix that and just don't do it. Listen, most durable powers of attorney, they spring. Oh no, Chay's in a coma. Well, let's go get the durable power. I don't walk in the door with the durable power while she's still functioning. She don't need me. So don't fear it. Just pick the right person.
There again, only one.
I would not have two durables for no reason. Take the one that's the smartest and let them just get the one that has never paid their bills late. That one. Okay. And again, sir.
How important is the location of your power?
Ooh, so you're talking about if they live out of state?
Yeah.
Depends on the person, really. I mean, the state doesn't care. I want to kind of back up there. If I were you, based on the two questions you've asked me, I think I would take them both to lunch, and we'd have a conversation. We'd have a conversation, and if they didn't want to pick, then I would give them my vote. But you might have one look at them and go, man, I really don't want to do that. And that'd be the best thing. Then you're good.
So I am in the medical field for my mom. We've always talked about between my charge of my mom's stuff, but I would be in charge of medical because I know what the doctors are talking about and stuff. So my sister and I, we both agreed with that with my mom. Would that be an issue where someone
It's absolutely beautiful what you've done. My sister and I did the same thing, and we're living it. Okay, here goes my pitch on long-term care. You have no idea how much you need it until you need it. And some good news, and I'll be glad to share with you how after the meeting's over or whatever. We have figured out a way that you can afford it. And I can't take the credit for what the life insurance industry figured out. But the health insurance industry has murdered long-term care, and it is unaffordable, and it's a slippery slope. But there is a way to prepare for long-term care. The reason I say that is because you and your sister are where me and my sister are. I am the power of attorney, and I'm the trustee. She is the medical surrogate. That's correct. Every medical decision, if everybody in the room says keep her alive, and you said nope, mom said pull the plug, the doctor's going to make the arrangement right after you show him the document. Okay? What happens if you don't have the document? Oof.
You can have everybody in there and one flies in, hadn't seen mama in 3 years and shows up and says, oh, no, you do everything. And that overrides what her request was and everyone who was close to her knew.
Absolutely. So, and depending on the state, it could be worse or better. Some states are more friendly. I happen to live in one of the most friendly states in Florida. Alabama's not so bad. But, boy, there are some states out there that, whew, ma'am. Depend about what? About estate planning? They're pretty good. If you live in Louisiana, you better go get you an education because it's Napoleonic law, and I ain't nothing wrong with it. It's just different. And if you come to me and said, "I live in Louisiana, help me," no, let me get an attorney from Louisiana on the phone because I know what I don't want to get into, and I don't want to get into that. So, and the reason is what you think is common sense all of a sudden is uncommon. I helped a buddy of mine solve his mother's stuff over there, and it took us 3.5 years. And she did the prep. That was with the prep. So did I answer your question for you and your sister? Because that's very important, and it's kind of very similar to my situation. And I wish you all the best. It's
Question about the financial power of attorney being out of state. They have to be dependable. They have to still might have to come to your state to get.
Yeah, they need to be able to function
I mean,
in that capacity.
recently with a client of ours that had to fly back and forth to get
They
the
have to
personally be
physically
there.
present
Yes.
and do it over the phone.
Sooner or later, they're gonna have to come. I mean, something's gonna get sticky, and they have to be willing, able, and have the means because your affairs may not have settled. They may be waiting 3 or 4 months for reimbursement.
Exactly, that's what happens.
Yeah,
In person.
yeah. Now, in the process, and I can't encourage you guys enough to take us up on our offer for 30 minutes, an hour. Again, that's on us. But you get to talk about your own personal deal. Well, what happens what happens to my 3 bank accounts? Well, we can title those accounts now. Has nothing to do with this, and it's free. All the bank sees it every day.
What do you mean by title it?
For instance, your checking account right now. Let's just use me as an example. Mal Mason, my address, my account number. It's my personal checking account. Okay, it could say the Mal Mason Revocable Trust, and I'm the trustee, and my wife is the co-trustee, and we can write checks out of it just like you write out of your checking account. But it's in my trust. Yes, sir.
What would be the difference in doing that than putting it with the POD payable on that?
I'm going to defer to an attorney, but there's very little. POD, TOD. All right, we're going to talk about that briefly here in a minute. But you absolutely could. The biggest advantage is that I find that a lot of my mom, for example, she and I pay her bills together because I'm on the checking account, not because I'm the durable power of attorney. I've been doing that a long time. So she may ask me a question that she taught me the answer to 50 years ago. Well, now she's not as sure as she used to be. Anybody else ever been through that? That's an unbelievable thing. When you look at, it's sad when you look. My mom was she ran a credit union. She was a stud, and she taught me that. And I'm thinking, what are you asking me for? You know more about it than I do, but she don't anymore. So did that, sir? Did we? Is that good enough? Was that good enough for you as well? Okay. Um. Yes, ma'am. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. That you've effectively. Here's what happens. Let's say that everybody on that account's dead, but you. You're the last survivor. You write check. You close the account, write one check. You can continue to pay bills out of it, whatever you want to do. Again, for children that take care of their parents, it's really just easier to just be on the account with them. It's obvious the mom knows you're not going to run off with all their money. Okay. Anybody want to take a guess who this is? Big Al. See, we knew that's what y'all would say in Alabama. Yeah, buddy. Anybody want to give me a roll tide? Roll tide. And here, he's affectionately known as Will. Debbie did that. So he's the elephant in the room, and he's what we're having this conversation about. I don't know, somebody's phone? Not me. Okay. Advanced healthcare directives. We were talking about this a minute ago. There's a questionnaire that's provided for the legal people that we work with, and they get through all that. They get through because they'll ask you questions that you haven't really thought of. I mean, really, the only way to know that that's a thing is if you were in their position, and by then it's probably too late. But the end of life care we talked about, organ donation is another big thing.
Does that also count for piano and guitars?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can put anything. Now, I've never seen this done, but you could actually put that into the trust, and then the will, the pour over will would be the instructions of how they would be dispersed. I would make sure that my will is detailed. By the way, if you have done estate planning and you would like for us to review it, that's also on the house. If you have not reviewed it in the last 3 years, you're late. May only take 30 seconds because nothing's changed, but it may take 30 minutes, and it was the most important decision you ever made. That do not think about it like this. If you had a brother and you're a widower and you have a brother and he's really your closest relative and he's 10 years younger than you and he's your Benny and he dies, drops dead of a heart attack, you have a mess. Now, you can go in and change the Benny, but what happens if you died with him? What happens if you died with him? Y'all went hunting and run off the road. Now we got a real mess. Because ain't nobody to say, well, he's no longer the Benny because he's, well, only person could say it, he went with him. That's unlikely, but that's what reviews are for. Okay? Anybody else? We talked about the financial power of attorney, medical decision, legal issues, real estate transactions, financial decisions, real estate transactions. Depends on if the house was titled to the trust. Now, who's going to go to the closing for the piece of real estate? Is it going to be the trustee or going to be durable power? Maybe you're both, and you don't have to. It doesn't matter. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And the trustee, they could be doing the job 30 years later. I'll tell y'all a quick, cute story. I met a lady over in Dothan, Alabama, and she was a widow, and she was left very comfortable. Not wealthy, not stinking rich, but she wasn't hurting for nothing. And she had a son and some grandkids. She invites us over one day and says, I think I need a trust. And I'm thinking, yeah, I think you do too. So anyhow, we helped her out with it, got her squared away. And the reason I said this is when somebody asked me, well, the will, does it die with you? And what happens then? And that, this lady realized what she had. She's a Christian lady, and she said, okay, here's the deal. My eldest son, as long as he acts right, this is what he gets. If he does not act right, it's going to charity. My grandkids, if they graduate, they get a car. They graduate college, they get this. If they make it to 35 and they're not incarcerated, they get the rest. If at any time they screw that up and get incarcerated, I'm giving it to charity. So when this is the funny part. So she said, will you do this? Now, I didn't write the trust, and she was my friend. So as a friend, I said, I'll take care of that for you. She was 84. I thought, what, maybe 3 years? What, right? How old was she when she died? I had that job a long time. And my dumb rear end said, I'm not going to let you pay me. I should have. Anyhow, I think Miss Mary knew at the end of the day, and she got a kick out of it, and that's all that matters. Limited power of attorney, it's the same thing as when you go to a CPA and he says, hey, sign this so I can talk to the IRS about your taxes. He can only talk to them about that. He has no other authority. A power of attorney has all the say-so in the world. That's the biggest difference. Let's talk about this briefly because we get bogged down here. So non-probate assets. Assets that transfer directly to, I'm reading this in case you can't see it. Assets that transfer directly to the beneficiary or co-owner without going through probate. If you join owners, that's a no-brainer. Whoever's left is left, right? Designated beneficiaries inherit. By the way, let me save you some time. If you ever say, well, you know what, I don't think that my Uncle Joe, I don't think he wanted them to be the Benny, so I'm going to fight it. You're going to lose. You're not kinda. You'll be lucky to have a judge hear it. First thing they're going to say is, tell me something, the contract there, what's it say on the beneficiary designation? It says Joe Smith. Well, Joe Smith just got some money. If the court were to say to the insurance company or the 401k, oh, no, we're going to hear this case. The 401k, the money manager, they look at you, they go, you do whatever you want to do. When we're done, Joe Smith's getting the money. Never been broken, ever. So don't let anybody talk you into it because they're going to lose. All right? Trust beneficiaries, same kind of thing. That's why we do reviews. If you do it right, it's perfect. Everything, you ain't got to worry about it. There's a story I used to tell about a couple at the end of their life. If you knew you was dying, the doctor said it wasn't going to be so good, sooner or later you'd get together with all your friends, family, have a good time. And then it would be you and the significant other. And for me, I'd be walking down the beach barefooted. That's where I'd want to be. And eventually I'm going to have to look at my wife and I'm going to say one or two things to her. I'm either going to look at her and say, honey, you ain't got nothing to worry about. I'm going to look at her and say, I didn't get around to it. Don't be that person because it's not that hard. Most of it, 70% is free. Beneficiary designations, TOD, POD. I mean, unless you live in New York. Probated assets. By the way, I don't know if y'all know this or not, but every company in our industry, money managers, insurance companies, they don't care. Che and I can write anywhere in the nation. If I call them and tell them, hey, I want to write in New York, they're like, nope, yeah, not happening. Too big a nightmare. Just the regulations. Their regulations are just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Individual has a will and testament. The will beneficiaries inherit. No will goes next to kin. Right there, they should put something there that says local courthouse.
Local courthouse?
Yeah, local courthouse, because that's what's going to happen. Because they're going to look at you and they're going to go, whoa. Well, what's your last name, ma'am?
Stafford.
Miss Stafford? Well, you can't just give your house. Do you have a child? What's the oldest? What's her name?
Her name is Neambi.
All right, so I'm just gonna give Neambi the house, right? That's what I'm gonna do, and you die. No, where's the deed? Nothing to say about Neambi in here. Hold on a minute. No, well, then instantly the courthouse says, you know what? Anybody know what happens when you go into probate? Do you know the process of what happens? The judge says, these assets aren't right. We've got to go to probate. And then they pick, now get a load, you want a racket? Here's a racket. So we're going to pick from a pool of probate attorneys, and it just happens to be Tim Smith's turn. We're going to give it to him, and then he's going to give us a price somewhere between 0 and 12% of your assets to retitle all of them. How's that work? How would you like to be on that list if you was an attorney? That's pretty good. I'm just sitting around. Somebody called me, say, hey, we got a guy down here with $1 million. What are you going to? What's it going to take to retitle it? Anyway, it should be we need to put a courthouse right here. Where's Allison? Make sure she knows that. I will go over this with you in private, but if you've ever wondered, well, what's the pecking order if so and so dies? My first heirs are my children and grandchildren, then my parents, then my brothers and sisters, nieces and nephews, maternal parents. Somebody has stopped and thought about this and wrote it down, and good for them. I'd be glad to give you a copy of it, but I don't want to talk about it. Because then I promise you, have 90% of people in the room like, well, my wife would get it. I don't care. Last will and testament, we talked about that. Rather than go through all their bullet points, if you do a last will and testament, you'll be glad you did. If you don't, you'll wish you would have. Well, you won't. Yeah, I think really, the attorneys and the CPAs will tell you that the catalyst for an estate plan always starts with the advisor, if they're worth their salt. Because to us, it's an unchecked box, and we're fiduciaries. So we can't leave it unchecked. Everybody else just don't seem to be like it has to happen. My point that I'm making is that it was yours. Nobody went to work every day at whatever time you got up and worked all day. Nobody but you paid for all that. So who the hell should pick where that asset goes? Anybody else other than me? Because, I think about that when I was putting myself through school and working full time. Didn't nobody earn that but me. So I'm going to pick. And I hope everybody likes it. But if they don't, that's just the way it is. I get this all the time. If I didn't write it down and I said it, does it still work? It could. I wouldn't rely on it. Because that would mean everybody agreed that whatever they said was right. Who was it that said you? You said that one person flies in and disagrees, boy, you got a mess. The trust, what kind of things go into trust? Cash, stocks, real estate. Let me change that. And I've argued with them, and I'm tired of arguing with them about it. Never put cash in a safety deposit box, because if for some reason it's not there when you go to get it, it's 1-800-WHAM.
Well,
That's what it is. Same in a trust. Why would you put cash in a trust? Put cash in a bank. Put cash in a brokerage account. But we're going to just take $10,000 in 100s and put them in the safe with the trust? That's not a healthy habit. Okay? Bonds. One time in 35 years, I had a lady walk in my office, had $145,000 of double E savings bonds that were matured. I'd never seen one before or since. But there they were. So that could be in there. The advantages of a revocable trust, I get this all the time. If I have my money in a trust, does it avoid taxes? Not a revocable trust. The measurement of said test is, if you can touch it, it's in arm's distance, then it belongs to me, and the IRS is entitled to whatever the code says they're entitled to. If I can't touch it, if it's beyond my reach and it's in an irrevocable trust, That's not my asset anymore. That's a big decision, and you're going to need some professional help to make it. Do not make that one by yourself, because it's like a bad marriage. You can get out of it, you just won't like it. Okay? But irrevocable trusts are a tremendous planning tool for the wealthy, because they have to lock their exemptions in to get that, and that's how most of us we use an irrevocable trust to do that. Whether it's cash, stocks, life insurance, it doesn't matter. It just kind of takes it out of the estate calculation for the state of Alabama and the United States government. One thing we are very passionate about is we disinherit the IRS every time we get a chance. If I can take money that you were going to give them and put it back in your pocket, that's why I do what I do. And I absolutely believe in paying our share. But if you like me, I'm not paying my fair share. My fair share was a long time ago. So if they're going to leave the door open and it's legal for me to step through it, I'm going to step through it. And I'm going to get a white paper, and I'm going to get a CPA that understands what I did, and I'm going to tell them, audit me then. By the way, if it gets too bad, just pay them, because if they look at you and tell you you're going to pay me, you're going to pay them. You can say you ain't, then it really gets ugly. But there's nothing wrong with taking a great strategy that's been tried and proven that has a white paper attached to it. That means the IRS reviewed it, and they didn't approve it or disapprove it, but they reviewed it. But you pull it out and you say, that's the strategy I used, and they go, okay, that's the end of it. If you don't have that paper, you might be in for a fight. Let's go through a checklist real quick. Do you have the following? If you do have the following, we would like to know it, and we'd be glad to review it for you. If you don't have the following, we would love to help you acquire that. Exactly what you need, not the whole package for $6,250 like it's going to be downtown Mobile or downtown, I guess, what is downtown here? Is it Daphne?
Daphne.
Are you beneficiary? These things are more important. Have your documents been updated in the last 3 years? You have trust? Is it funded? Do you know how an estate plan works? Those are all the things that we want to help you understand completely. You may walk out of our office and go, hey, I got it. You may walk out of our office with a list of people you need to go see. Well, either way, as long as you get the answer, that's what matters. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
If you have the will, the health care directive, and the power of attorney, do you really need the trust?
Probably not. Let me ask you, do you own multiple real estate properties? You might. You probably stuck.
I think I got my kids
That's there may be other advantages to it other than just the kids and them getting along. I use a really good friend of mine, an attorney in Pensacola, and it more of a sounding board these days. But he's really big on, all right, one or two maybe, but if I've got 5 pieces of real estate, I'm probably want to store them in a trust. Okay? And the CPA will chime in and say, yeah, because, the trust is going to pay the premiums on the PNC. Anyhow, that's when they lose me. I'm like, hey, that's not me. I don't have to worry about all that. Okay. So, you had a question. Go ahead. Okay. All right. 3 types of money, whether you defer it, don't defer it. Talk about widow tax, sequence of returns. These are things that I hope that you've seen these things on this slide. This is what's really has occurred that's different in our business in the last 5 to 7 years. It's due to tax code changes, maybe a difference in view because of technology, different opportunities. But what do we mean by that? In the state of Florida and the state of Alabama, there's no estate tax. There is an income tax, as y'all are aware. But pretty decent state to be hung up in. 3 types of money. There's cash, there's stocks, 401ks, to me, that's all cash. What I think of when I hear three types of money is I think of taxable, non-taxable, deferred. I'm getting into how the IRS views your money. Two reasons that you do an estate plan, and the one is obvious. Number one, you want whoever you want to have your stuff, and the other one is you want to make sure that you follow the tax code preemptively. That's very important. I'll say it again, our greatest enemy in retirement. Everybody wants to talk about rate of return. I promise you the IRS is waiting for you to cash that check. And you can count on them. They are going to be there. So you might as well plan for it. And the bad part is, and I'm going to talk about the widow's tax, they changed the rules. So now the rules changed, and at least I'm going to tell you what the rule change is. But sequence from rate of returns, we're going to talk about that. If you're retired, you absolutely need to understand the sequence of rate of return, because it could quite possibly be the hidden threat to your retirement. Estate taxes, when you talk about the estate tax, we've talked about it to death, figure out the value of the estate. Let me just make it simple. If you're in this room and you're single and you're worth $15 million or more, you need to talk to somebody that knows what they're talking about. You can start with me, but we'll get an attorney involved. After that, if you're married, it's $30 million. Other than that, you're exempt from estate taxes. So if you got $28 million the day you or your wife or finally the last one dies, you're good as far as estate taxes go. That has nothing to do with probate. That's a whole different calculation. And talk about the gifting limits. It's now $19,000 per individual. Why do I say individual? Because not only can I give my daughter $19,000, I can give her spouse $19,000. And I can give my daughter's children $19,000 apiece. All I'm doing is transferring money out of my estate to come in under that $30 million number. Now, between me and you, and don't you tell everybody, I'm not over 30 million, so it don't matter. And most people are not, but I would not be diligent if I didn't say, hey, if you're in this, or if you're mom and dad's, and that's the rules. Will it change? It's changed the last 3 years. It was written into the tax law. So, probably will change. The one big beautiful bill, whether you like it or not, there was some advantages that came to the people making between $75,000 and $150,000. So married, $150,000, single, $75,000. You got a tax break.
Yes.
That's all. I'm not getting into all that. They talk about Maggie and adjusted gross income. Why bore everybody? If you want to know, stop me after the meeting. I'll tell you all about it. I'll put you to sleep. Okay? Single and married, just talking about the same thing. This is what we were getting to. The bill summed up, there it is. So if you're 65 years or older and you're in those categories, your taxes will be less this year than they were last year. The widow's tax work, this is an example of it. If you look at spouse A, spouse B, this is their income, their pension, their IRA. So your total income is, well, come on. Oh, there it is.
It's on the ceiling. You can't see it on the screen.
I don't know. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, y'all, right there, 96,000. Total tax is $47.91. That's not bad. That's about 5% income taxes. But then, if one of you die, and what was it? Was it Allison or was it you telling me about that just recently? Yeah, I thought it was you. So if you have a family member that's a widow or a widower, they could be a victim of this. So the same scenario, except she's only taking $2,000, $1,500 survivor benefit, so that number went in half. And IRA, so she had to take more money out of her IRA, which is taxable, to make up for the difference. And when she did, it triggered $10,000 in taxes and not $4,000 in taxes. She didn't do anything wrong. She lost a spouse. I was telling Carl earlier, I don't know who the hell wrote that, and I don't know how they got it through, but they did. But that should never happen. That's double what it was.
But why would she have same amount.
She don't have to.
of money because
That's what I would
there's only
say.
one of her instead of the two living on the-
You want a job? I see. That's what I would say to you if you came. I said, well, do you really need the money? Because now there's only one of you now.
You're not eating
But
that much. You're not.
but I've had them look at me and say, oh, you don't understand. I'm about to travel. And that's when I look at them and go, okay, increase of 114%. Again, the checklist: are your assets up to pass efficiently to your spouse? That's what this is about. No matter what it is, what tool we use, are we being efficient with what we have and efficiently giving it to who we want to have it, when we want them to have it, and it is as peaceful as possible? That's, to me, that's a good estate plan. I would caution you not to overspend. It can be intimidating. I understand that because you've never done it, but it's a fairly straightforward process, and it shouldn't start at $6,000. And we put an end to that. We can do it for a lot less than that. And depending on who you are, it could be a lot less than someone who needs all four. It just depends. And it might just be as simple as making an adjustment to what you already have, and that's free. So it's all about getting it right. I want to add something to this. There's a couple of tools I want to offer everybody in the room who attend here. Every time we teach on a subject, we always offer the same things to everybody. Because in our firm, we're comprehensive planners. I don't leave a rock unturned. It's just not going to happen. First thing I ask you is, hey, look, I know you love your guy at Wells Fargo. That's great. I'm going to need to talk to him. I'm going to be nice to him. I like him. But we got to be on the same page. We can't get the reports wrong. We can't get the taxes wrong. We can't do that. So what we'd like to do is, if you need estate planning, we'll help you. We'll get you on the right path. We'll get you your answers. We'll get you what you need. We'll tell you straightforward what that is. Your tax report. We will take your tax return and we will review that tax return at no cost to you and tell you what you did or didn't miss. And if you didn't miss anything, well, now you know. Fair enough. But what if you're staring that widow thing in the face and then, well, she don't want to take a cut and pay? Well, now we got to talk about that. And where's that going to be on the tax return? Okay? Simple things. But this last part, the investment audit, I am not looking for you to move your money. What I am looking for you to do is to do an audit. You should be doing it every year, and your advisor should be doing it for you. And then they should be reviewing you with it. But they should be looking at your holdings, and they should be making sure that your holdings do not overlap. I'll give you an example of what I mean. If you have a 401k at BlackRock, and you are in a large cap environment and a small cap environment, and you're in a technology environment, 30% of your holdings on any given day is overlapping. So you have too much risk and you don't even know it. Because based on your answers, you didn't want all that technology stock, but the money manager, he didn't, that wasn't on his radar. It's called rebalancing. It don't happen for the most part. And if it does, it happens once a quarter, once a year. And if you've never had that, you need to take that off the list. Here's the other part. What am I paying in fees? Because I don't care who it is at Wells. I can tell you what the out-of-the-box fee is, and that's to get started, because that's where Wall Street, you remember I told you I couldn't work for them. Che and I have trouble keeping a straight face charging that. So we don't do it. But you need to understand your fees. You need to understand where your holdings are. Do they need to be reallocated? If you're, I don't want to embarrass nobody, but if you're sitting in the audience right now and you bought a 401k or you have a brokerage account or whatever, when you bought that, did you take a risk profile test to see where you should put your money? No, most people didn't. But if you did you do another one this year? Every year on annual review, people change. Let me tell you what I mean. I sit on the sidelines. I am a conservative, no loss kind of guy. I'll forfeit the rate of return. I grew up poor and I ain't going to lose it. We recently met a money manager in Destin, Florida. Best I've ever met in my life. He got me off the bench a little bit. a little bit. So I had to do a new risk profile because all of a sudden I was willing to take some risk on my money. But he had to know that. That's when you know you're in the right room. Because everybody loves Tesla until Tesla's down $200 a share. And then you a dog because you put me in Tesla. So it's easy. Let's just ask you what kind of risk you're willing to take for the rate of return. And then let's talk about what the underlying holdings look like. Make sure you're not overweighted. And then let's disclose the fee. How hard is that? And if you like the guy or the lady, stay with them. But make sure that they're giving you the numbers because, 1%, which is the average overcharge, 1% on $1 million over 30 years, add that up. And then compound it. You can't see this real good because the attorney said so. Back to that. This right here, we will give you, this will be a report that's ran on your assets where they sit. We will break them down by class, holdings, fees, all of it. You walk out the door and never come back, that might be the last time you get one of those. But I think I go to my guy and say, hey, you see this? I want one of these every year. Okay, that way you know. Nothing is certain except death and taxes. So we talked about the reaper in the beginning, and we talked about what we're going to do to try to keep him out of our pocket in the future. When you go back and you look at that investment analysis, one last question that nobody talked about. What is my exposure to cap gains / losses? And what's my exposure to income? And is my income guaranteed? And what is the impact of me having to spend money out of that investment class while it's down? Because if you have $1 million and you wake up one day and it's 900,000, not $1 million, and you still have to take a $60,000 withdrawal, you want to talk about put stress on investment? So did I plan for when the market was down that I drew my assets from somewhere else? That's strategic comprehensive planning. That's not in any of those reports. That's 35 years of experience of looking at a client and going, don't worry about it. Your $8,700 is going to be in the mailbox on the 3rd of the month. We're not going to touch those assets over there until they recover. That's just too much common sense. You don't want to spend it while it's down. That report gets that conversation started. All right. Through preaching. So here's the deal. The yellow sheet that everybody gave you when you come in the door, we are regulated by FINRA. FINRA likes to know who we talk to and what I said. I appreciate you filling them out for our records. In there, you have some choices to make if you want to meet with me and the team, if you want an individual one-on-one, if you want to try to catch me before I get out of here, I'll try to accommodate you. When you go outside, we have a board there. When you turn your sheet in, if you want to meet with us, just pick the sticky note that is the right time and put it on your yellow sheet, and that's it. You're on the books. If you don't want to come, no harm, no foul.
And that meeting could be Zoom or in person.
Absolutely.
And these dates don't work for you, please let us know.
Yeah, it's all about the answers. Is there anybody? I got a couple laundry items I want to get to, but is there any questions that anybody has that I haven't that's still bothering you? Okay, good.
How often you have to review the will?
To review the will?
No,
Oh,
review
every 3 years?
Every 3 years.
I think, unless if like you lose a sister or a spouse, I think I would, as soon as I got comfortable enough where I was able to talk about it, I would get with my advisor and make those changes. Don't put it off. I'll say it again, and I'm not knocking anybody, but when you can back it up, you can back it up, and we back it up. So here's the deal. If you have an advisor that you're not talking to at least once a year, you need to ask yourself why. Because it is their job. They have a fiduciary responsibility. If they don't, somebody above him does. That's a fact. So just find out what's going on, because the wrong time to find out is after somebody's passed or if we have a 20% downturn. Yes, ma'am.
My husband and I have no children together. He adopted a child. and she divorced when she was 12. Mother has not let her have anything to do with us over the years. You know, she's friends on Facebook, but she don't call us so. Can she come and find out, okay, my husband passed away, her daddy, can she come back and say, wait a minute, I was left out of the will?
Did everybody hear what she said? That's a great question. It would have been even more convoluted if you had kids and he had kids and then you had an adopted kid, but it's good enough as it is, okay? The answer is she could, but man, beneficiary designations, joint checking accounts, TOD, POD, yeah, no. But you cross the T's, dot the I's.
And in the will, you can actually omit.
Yeah, you can rule it out.
Rule it out. And I say that only because there are cases very similar where there's an estranged child that's not really in the family anymore. And because they are a child, they could come back later and try to fight for it as one of the children that should be a beneficiary, and they're not. So you can actually literally write it in the will that you're
And that
omitting this child from any benefit.
and that hardly ever has traction unless there's some type of malice. And it doesn't sound like that.
Yeah.
What do you mean it doesn't have traction? Is that worth doing it?
Well, you can go do it, but you know, there's some things. You know, put yourself in the judge's shoes. He's sitting there. He's going, okay, this lady's 12. We ain't seen her since she was 12. They don't have nothing to do with us, and everything's settled out except for this one $10,000 CD. And there she sits wanting it. And the judge is going to be like, now hold on a minute. Y'all haven't seen each other in 30 or 40 years. You know, is someone going to go? First of all, you don't have enough money to pay for an attorney to tell the judge what you really want to do. Number one. So you're in there by yourself hoping that for some reason he's in a good mood. Now, can you do it? Yeah. Could you get lucky? You could. But unless there was some type of malice, like you was trying to hide something, you know, if your answer is, well, he died and that's what he wanted, and here's the will, that's pretty much the end of it. Yes, sir.
So the 5-year look back, does that apply to both a revocable and irrevocable trust?
Woo, that's a different set of rules. Let me be vague, and then we can have a phone call if you'd like. Okay. An irrevocable is just it's its own monster. It don't belong to you anymore. Once you funded it, it's over. Now, there are provisions, a spousal loan provision, that allows you to get back in there at some point, and so on and so forth. Revocable, when you titled, and don't let me get off the track here, number one. So when you retitled that asset, if that was 5 years and 1 day, you're in look back. You're not in look back. If it was 4.5 years, that asset's in look back.
Yeah,
And it used to be 2 years.
you just needed the property for your trust.
Correct. That's it. You can do that. You know, and if that's your only property, a ladybird deed may be more efficient. But and we'll be glad to talk to you about that, ma'am. Excuse me. No.
Ladybird did.
No, and I'm gonna tell you why. Now I would think that was legal advice. So let me talk in general about what people think they are, and they're pretty accurate. It's a way to title your property in such a way that you don't need a trust and it doesn't really belong to you anymore. When you sell it, the trustee of that is you. So they give you your money and you put it in your checking account. Or you put it in the revocable trust checking account and you just party on. Okay? That's the simple answer. It's a little bit more convoluted than that, but if it's for you, it's absolutely worth it. If that solves your problem. Yes, ma'am.
So, when you have a will, I always thought that you had to go to probate anyway for a will, and that was the point of getting it.
Mm-mm. That's not true.
All wills don't have to go to probate.
It does not. If it's unsettled assets, either the, and I almost said Florida. Either the state of Alabama has a plan for you, or you have your own plan, and your plan's a lot cheaper.
So my father-in-law died, and he had 2 plans.
So what he had was unsettled assets, and then the state said, you know what? We're not going to just. I don't care what you said. Do you remember when I said spoken and not spoken? Everybody's got to agree if that's what everybody said. But one person says, oh, no. Sound familiar?
Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. So my mom wants to leave her house to my husband and I because we live with her.
Sure.
As would it be best for her to put us on the trust or the deed? But
The deed may work.
if we go to sell it, then that's where my sister would come in because she would want half of the cost.
You're gonna want to write that down.
Just write it.
Yeah.
down.
No. You're actually gonna want to. I won't tell you that. Could you theoretically, and I think probably yes, probably maybe, but you'd have to consult an attorney. I'm sorry about that. So if you were on the deed with your mom, you and your husband, or you, and your mom died, and the will said sell the house and give your sister half, that's the end of it.
Okay, but she wants it as long as we're living in the house.
Then she's going to need to do some planning. She needs to leave directions. What I would do, based on what you've said, is a revocable trust, put the house in a revocable trust, and have a pour over will with directions. If you want it clean, you may overpay for that. An attorney may tell you, hey, you need to go back to a ladybird deed and a will, whatever he says, she says. Okay?
How do you get on the deed if the mortgage is on the mortgage?
How do you get on the?
Oh, it doesn't matter about the mortgage or not.
No.
No.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, the deed, the titling of the deed has nothing to do with if you have a mortgage on it or liens against your house. You go to the clerk, and you have to fill out their paperwork to get either a COD transfer of debt or labor deed where you're on it.
For your
But most
taxes
times
though,
they'll do it
if
transfer of
you're a
debt.
senior, you get a reduced taxes. If you have someone young on the deed with you, are you back to paying the regular taxes?
It's a good question. I'm going to share it with everybody. That's a really good question.
Now, when you pass away, you still need to file that one.
Deed and trust are two different things.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. The deed, when you buy any piece of property, you have a deed. And the two of you may be on the deed, one of you may be on the deed, but that's who the property is deeded to at the courthouse. That's had tax records and all that. Okay, to change that deed, you just have to go to the courthouse and change that deed and pay the fee to refile that deed. The trust is like a warehouse that stores all your stuff. It's not, and the deed may be in the warehouse, but it's not the warehouse. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, no worries. I
only have one son, so like beneficiary or everything.
I can tell you that taxes and the investment fees are 98% greater than anything to do with an estate. The estate's easy, but where the travesty is in them other two. So I want to share something. We had a great question over here, and it was good enough that I want to share the question, and then I'm going to give you about 98% of the answer. Because if you're in that other 2%, it's just going to cost you some money. All right. So she says to me, if I am, and it's a great point, I'm at a certain age and I'm treated differently from the IRS because I'm over 65 and the other person on the deed is under 65. What's that mean? Okay, that's a great question because it might be, depending on the situation, it might be a good time to take the younger person off the deed. Here's why. The way it is currently, if you have a $1 million house that you paid $100,000 for, and you're on the deed and you die, the basis is $1 million. So the kid gets the house with no capital gains tax. The oldest one dies, the 60-year-old is still there, same situation. Depending on how they look at that in your particular situation, it may or may not step up in basis. So the easy answer would be some type of trust, and then it's going to step up when the trust takes possession of or actually executes its EIN number and says that house belongs to me. So.
Steps up when they put it in the trust. It steps up when you put it in the trust?
No. The trust comes live at death. Now that doesn't mean that you didn't fund it and it's there, but it actually takes its shirt off and says, "Here I am." That's at death. So, but your planning's not going to change. You're still in great shape. If the planning was right when you did it, you're golden. That's what the review's for, is to make sure something didn't change.
First two, not spouses, right?
What's that?
That case doesn't mean spouses, it means like the
You
person.
put your son or your
Yeah,
daughter, one
that's
of
correct.
your on the deed.
He's 65 and I'm 52, so that's not our situation.
No,
That would be
no,
somebody that we had.
no.
Okay.
And
I don't need to tell my husband.
and thank God, because we're in Alabama today, and Alabama and Florida are the same way. Let's say you're in that Medicaid problem and you're outside, you're in look back, and they ran up an $80,000 bill. Until the last one of you dies, they can't collect. But when it's your kids are left, time to pay. Okay?
I'm saying basically, if they're like in a higher income bracket and they're younger and they're on the deed, they're gonna pay more taxes.
Well, no, because that's cap gains, and it would depend. When you died, it would step up in basis. Okay, unless you had a spouse.
No, it's gonna be.
Yeah, yeah. Don't confuse. That's a great question. I don't want to confuse anybody on cap gain. Cap gains and income tax are two different things. The IRS makes sure they keep you confused right there. So, income tax is based on income. You get a 1099 for it. You get CD interest on CDs, 401ks. When you spend it, when you spend IRAs, pensions, all that, that's taxes. Cap gains means you either bought real estate or stock and it appreciated. So what you bought it for and what it is now, that's the gain.
And they would pay tax on that gain if they're younger and I die.
It should step up in basis. And so if you paid 100 and the house is worth 500, when you die, the basis becomes 500. The kid that's a hot topic on Capitol Hill right now. They are trying to do away with that step up in basis. And if they do, boy, I'm gonna be real busy because I mean, you think about the average house right here. God forbid you get down to the end of the island down here, or down to was it Fairhope? They got the same problem we have at Pensacola Beach. And people paid $125,000 for it, and it's a $2 million house. And so I might have to pay taxes on 1.8 million. No, it steps up. But boy, if they got rid of it, you'd owe 20% of 1.8 million. That's a lot of money. Most time, what that would result in, and what the travesty is of that law, is that you would end up selling the house because you didn't have the money to pay the tax. That's wrong. That was your mama's house. So I hope that they stand up to them about that. Anybody else?
What does look back mean?
Look back is used to be 2 years. That's when if real quick, don't think that Medicare has your back when it comes to long-term care. They do not. They have 120 days, and then they're glad to tell you that they're not done with you. So if you don't have the assets to pay for nursing home care, and you end up in a state home, that is paid by Medicaid. That look back on assets used to be 2 years, now it's 5. What they really meant was is that just because you just got sick, you can't go give your house to your kid and we can't get our money back. You have to plan far enough ahead to qualify for look back. Yeah. Well, and that's one of the biggest topics about a reverse mortgage. That can the kid buy them out at the end of it? If they can, maybe it's a good deal, But yes, ma'am.
I just lost my husband the 4th of May.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
And I didn't realize, and I'm still trying to find the deed to
Mm-hmm.
see if I know my name might not be on it. So, because his lawyer
Mm-hmm.
took him the will, he asked me. He said, "Well, is your name on the deed?" I said, "Ooh, I don't know. I can't find it."
Yeah, what we could go to county probate and find
He
out.
said he wanted to know if my name was on this and this and this. I said, I just know it's on his bank account because we have separate banks.